Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Business Growth and Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Bill, the company's expert, and on today's episode, we're going to talk about data-driven decisions and why manager is a bad word. Welcome to the show. So I'd like to share with you something I received on LinkedIn, one of these delightful little unsolicited messages that people you don't know will send you routinely. And I'm not going to tell you the sender, but somebody I don't know, but it says, as a leader, we know you rely on accurate data to drive your decision making. Let us make it easier for you to look at the metrics that matter most for product companies with our quick guide. Do you have 5 minutes to read? And then there's a little button where you can download this guide now. And then there's another button that says, tell me more. So I want to make 2 points about this little message here. First of all, it's talking about data-driven decisions. I'm sure we've all been pounded with this term in the last few years, and it's really become, I don't want to say a trend, it's become a fad. It's become one of those business buzzwords, the word du jour that business people say to each other. It's very trendy to say this, data-driven decisions. Now, I just want to say, the theory behind data-driven decisions is sound, okay? It was kind of a reaction to a lot of businesses, especially large businesses, enterprise, being led by people that just were trusting their gut. They had a hunch that a certain thing was the right thing to do, or a certain strategy was the correct one, and it was based on nothing more than their intuition and experience and opinion. And this is kind of a reaction against that. And in the 1960s, you got people that were at the head of a lot of large enterprise, these big, sprawling multinational companies that had a lot of resources at their disposal, including a lot of market research resources. So they had a lot of personnel, and they had the equipment necessary and the organization necessary to go out and get data to prove a theory. Okay, now this was the beginning of this movement to make decisions where your decision is backed up with data. And on paper, that sounds very good. And in reality, it certainly is effective. And if you look at it in the sort of academic, through the academic lens, yes, this is a perfectly good thing. And it certainly is superior to the alternative, to the precursor, which was just trusting your gut. Now, the problem with this is that, like this message I receive tends to indicate, people are throwing this term around, and they're using this concept as if it's something that everybody can do over every decision, and that is simply incorrect. Because as anyone who knows, who has been at the helm of a smaller business or even a mid-sized business, you know that there's no way in hell that you can back up every decision you make with data. It's just impossible. You might make 50 decisions a day that seriously impact your firm. And it's just not possible to try and get data on every possible decision. So let's be clear, data-driven decisions, I believe, and I know for the most part, that they are reserved for, first of all, very large organizations that have access to their own internal data, as well as other businesses that are seeking data that is common. Okay, so they're not generating the data themselves, but they're maybe looking it up, or they're paying, a management consulting firm to supply this data. Okay, and I've had mixed experiences with that. I've had, if you're going to the Dun and Bradstreets of the world, I've had mixed experiences. Sometimes they can supply a lot of value with their data, and sometimes it is, shall we say, less than accurate and less than complete. So there are inherent risks in basing your decisions off that. And also, if that's what you're doing, unless you're getting it from the government, and even if you are, it comes close to violating a cardinal rule of business, which is never farm out your strategy. Okay, never farm out your brains. Never outsource it. You need to lead your own business. If you don't, bad things usually ensue. Okay, so first of all, this idea that everyone, is making data-driven decisions all the time is just false. It's also impractical. And, the other thing is there's a political component to this, okay? A lot of times, if you work in a larger organization where you have an executive management team that shares a lot of the decision-making power, there's a lot of politics that can sometimes go on within these teams. And, another reason for data-driven decisions is simply because of the politics involved in trusting somebody's opinion. Either people don't want to go out on a limb and make a decision based on their intuition for fear of it going wrong, and then they've essentially painted the target on their back. The other reason is because they might not have the power by themselves to push through a decision, so they will assemble a sort of laundry list of different things that back up their decision. They'll create some data. Now, it's well known in the finance world that any project can be backed up with data. Okay, you can always find data that will back up what you want to do, and this is well known. And the end result in the world of finance is that usually it depends more on the track record of the individual, whether they have a track record of success, rather than their ability to back up a proposal with data. Okay, because it's well known that anyone, like I said, anyone can back up any proposal with data of some kind. Okay, that's the reality of this. And so this quickly loses all meaning, okay? If you are at the helm of an enterprise, which I'm not, and I've never been, and I'm pretty sure I will never be, then you could maybe use data-driven decisions to guide you for the most part. Either you can get the data externally or you can generate it internally for whatever purpose you need and go off that. But I just want to be clear. This is something I keep seeing on a daily basis. People throwing this term around, implying that all decisions now have to be data-driven, and that is completely false. I just want to put that out there. The other thing is that if you listen to maybe I'm taking this a bit too far, but if you look at the wording that was used in this particular sales message that I got here, where they talk about leaders. As a leader, we know that you rely on accurate data. Nobody wants to call another person a manager anymore. There's a difference between a leader and a manager. People that have been to business school know this. They're two completely different things. And but we seem to shy away from the word manager because it's just not as fashionable as calling someone a leader, right? For everyone who doesn't quite know the distinction between these, a manager is somebody who's been put in charge of something, either a project or a team or capital, okay, like money or property, plant, and equipment, assets. Anyway, somebody been put in charge is a manager. That's what the position is called. Now, managers are responsible for several things. 4 main things, okay? They are responsible for planning, right? Which is what steps should you take to reach a goal? Putting a plan in place. They're responsible for that. They're responsible for organizing, which is the allocation of resources towards that plan. They're responsible for influencing, which is the closest thing to the word leader. Okay. And influencing is simply getting others to act the way that you would have them act. Okay. So if you're trying to motivate them or you're trying to get them to work towards a common goal, that's usually what that involves. The influencing function, that's associated with a leader. But then they're also a controller. They also do controlling, which is monitoring what's going on, and if things are deviating from the plan, it's taking steps to correct and bring things back on track, so they're back on schedule, back on budget, and you are working your plan. So those are the 4 management functions. So planning, organizing, influencing, and controlling. And leadership is part of those. It's part of the influencing function. But to call a manager a leader is inaccurate. Managers do more than just influence people. They do many other things, like we've stated, okay? Not everything a manager does is a leader. So if you're making data-driven decisions, in fact, that suggests that you are planning, and you are controlling, and you are organizing, and that's not part of a leader. So just a distinction there. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this? I'm obviously taking a little message I received way too far, but these are following trends that I've seen clear across the business world in the last few years. So let me know your thoughts on this. Thank you very much for listening. You guys are awesome, and I hope to see you on the next episode of Business Growth and Entrepreneur Podcast. Take care.